Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular Friday forum of the City Club of Cleveland. I'm Dick Pogue, a past president of the City Club, and it's my privilege to introduce our speaker today. And I've got to warn you, this introduction may be a little longer than usual because of the many activities that our speaker has engaged in over the years. Rob Portman was born in Cincinnati in 1955, and then he moved to Cleveland, and he was here between the ages of 3 to 5, those formative years. And whatever leadership skills he developed, we attribute to that period. But then he was back in Cincinnati. His father ran he was a small businessman. He started a forklift truck dealership with only 5 employees. One of them was Rob's mother, the bookkeeper, and it grew over the years and became quite successful. Rob and his brother were involved, and ultimately it had 300 employees. So he understands how small business can succeed. He attended Dartmouth College, and while he was in college, he had a college internship with a congressman from Cincinnati. And I think it was that experience in Washington that really kind of whetted his appetite for public service. After Dartmouth, I'm very proud to say that he earned a law degree at the University of Michigan Law School. He then practiced international law for a while in Washington with Patton, Boggs and Blow. Many of you know there's a very outstanding firm in that field. And then came back to Cincinnati, where he practiced business law with Graydon, Head, and Ritchie. But he hadn't been back here long before Washington called him again. He had a couple of jobs in the White House during the administration of President Bush number 41. And then in 1993, he was elected to Congress from the Cincinnati area, and he served in the Congress for 12 very distinguished years. In the 7 elections that he participated in, he never received less than 70% of the vote. And while he was in the Congress, he was known for his bipartisanship, his ability to get along with the other side, and to focus on results and get things done. Despite his bipartisanship reputation, he was also, during 4 of those 12 years, the liaison between the congressional Republicans in the House at that time and the White House. And through that, he developed an understanding of the executive branch. In 2005, he left the Congress to become the United States Trade Representative and was unanimously confirmed by the Senate. And he only served in that job for a little over a year, and yet during that year he really made the most of it. He was generally credited in the political press with reducing barriers to U.S. exports, increasing enforcement of our trade laws. And for example, it's known that he brought the first successful legal case in the trade arena against China. In 2006, he was named to the all-important post of Director of the Office of Management and Budget in Washington. He had a reputation as a budget hawk. He was hailed for proposing a balanced federal budget. Imagine that. And he was also had a reputation for fighting earmarks and for championing a new transparency for all federal spending. He left the government in 2007, returned to Cincinnati, where he now practices with a law firm which will remain nameless. Well, I guess I have to name him. Squire Sanders and Dempsey. Rob is a person who combines a deep understanding of policy along with a practical love and experience in politics. As one commentator has said, Portman understands the ins and outs in budgets and the economy as well, if not better, than most staffers. In noting that Portman has had now legislative, executive, diplomatic, and economics experience, columnist David Brooks has opined that Portman has excelled in every role he has undertaken. In the 2008 presidential election year, he was mentioned seriously for a while as a possible vice presidential candidate. But at that time, it really didn't matter how able he was, because he was not as pretty as the ultimate candidate for vice president. Rob is an avid outdoorsman, hunter, fisherman. Back in Cincinnati, he coached the soccer team for his 8th grade daughter. She is one of 3 children that Portman and his wife Jane have. He's engaged in a number of community activities in the greater Cleveland, Cincinnati area, and he also owns what he claims to be the oldest continuously operating business in Ohio, which is a historic Golden Lamb restaurant in Lebanon, Ohio. And besides all that, he happens to be a candidate for the U.S. Senate seat now held by George Voinovich. With great admiration and respect, and apologies for taking so long, I present Rob Portman.
Dick, thank you very much. I just told him I appreciated that introduction because now I don't have to give a speech. I mean, but seriously, very, very, very kind of you. I appreciate your kind words. Coming from Dick Pogue, it means a lot. He's done a lot for this community. He's a hero of mine for a lot of reasons. One is that he also loves policy and loves politics and is willing to roll up his sleeves and get involved and make his community a better place and our state and our country a better place. So thank you, Dick, for your friendship and counsel. I'll need it going forward. He mentioned this soccer coaching. I'm actually still doing it. I'm coaching 3 indoor soccer teams right now. I don't make it to every practice or every game, but I have found that 14-year-old girls pay about as much attention to me as Democrats in Congress did. For those of you who's coach, you know what I'm talking about. But it's one of the wonderful aspects of being home. And after doing the commute for 14 years, because when I was in Congress for 12 years and in these 2 cabinet-level jobs, I actually, Jane and I kept our home in Cincinnati. And I was the only member of the cabinet. I look around the table sometimes and realize I was the only member of the cabinet coming home every weekend. And that's one reason I left, because it just didn't work with the family. But I couldn't coach. So one of the neat things about being home is being able to do that. And when I decided to jump into this race, I went to see my wife and 3 teenagers and said, you know, George Voinovich has approached me. He's decided to not run for re-election. He's encouraged me to run. I love being home. I know you love having me involved in your lives again and going to your parent-teacher conferences and coaching your teams. And to my 3 teenagers, I said, I'm sure you don't want me to do this. They said, no, Dad, it'd be good for you. Get you out of the house a little more. So those of you who have teenagers, you know what I mean. But I am blessed with a family that's very supportive, and you can't do it without it. Your faith in your family, you tend to lean on a lot more when you take on a challenge like this, and I'm certainly doing it. Jim, thank you for reaching out to me again. This is my 3rd speech before the illustrious Cleveland City Club, and I always have enjoyed being here before, and I know we'll have an interesting dialogue today. I'm going to talk about the economy today and about jobs, which is the reason I'm in this race, and I think is the single most important issue to Ohio and certainly to Northeast Ohio. Some of you may be distracted and thinking about other things because I understand that tomorrow the first Cleveland Public High School ever is going to the state championship. And of course, congratulations to Glenville High School, but also to Ted Ginn. What a neat guy. All the work that he has done at his academy at the school. Dick mentioned, although I was born and raised in Cincinnati, I did spend my formative years here in Cleveland, as you said. It was ages 3 to 5. I was on Townley Road in Shaker Heights. I was at a meeting recently with a bunch of small business folks and cozy people, you know, people that are engaged in trying to work on regulations and so on for small businesses. And this guy says, I know you. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, I went to nursery school with you. Now, I didn't remember it, but he claimed that he was going to go to the press to talk about the fact that I used to talk during quiet time. I said, pal, go ahead and do it. That's good for me because having that ability to filibuster is something people look for in a United States senator. So